amazing swim with the whales, the humpback whales, the opera singer of the whale family. Off of McKenna Beach, Maui. My girlfriend and me swam out into the channel, deep water channel. It was so beautiful, the deep blue water streaking down beneath us. We couldn't see the land underneath us. When we got around a mile offshore and we're floating around in the big sets of waves that come through the channel, we looked down underneath us and there was this white thing. We weren't quite sure what it was, what kind of white thing. And it started coming to the surface and it got closer and closer and it reached feet away, and it was a baby whale. It was this beautiful, beautiful little baby whale, and it hadn't seen us, and we're just floating there, and this baby whale is like swimming around in a circle, and then suddenly it noticed us, and it looked at us, and it went double shake. And I started laughing. It was like a little tiny puppy dog that was so excited. A 1,200-pound baby puppy dog. And I knew if there's a baby, there's a mother. And the one thing that you never do in nature is get between the mother and her baby. And so I looked down and there was the mother, and she was okay. She was pretty cool. She was just down around 100 feet underneath us. But then the baby swam around and it got behind us so that we were in between the mother and the baby. And I went, no! And right away the mother flipped out her tail and swam right at us, and I thought we were going to get hit, and she missed us with her fluke by around a foot. My girlfriend totally screamed and jumped on my back and started choking me because she thought we were going to get rammed by the whale. But I just knew it wasn't going to hurt us. And then the mother went past us and got her little baby on her nose and pushed it away. And then whenever there's a baby and a mother, there's always an escort, and it's not even necessarily the father of the whale. And then he charged us, but he was like several feet away. He said, okay, you've already had the treatment. And then I started looking around me after they left. And there's all these black pieces of skin everywhere. And the mother had patched out blubber, little pieces of whale skin. God, they were beautiful. So beautiful.
Thank you for that story.
You're totally welcome, Gary.
So what's your name?
My name is Eona. E-O-N-A.
That's an unusual name. Where does that come from?
It came from the high Andes of Peru. For a while I didn't have a name. My father and me weren't good friends when I was young, and I left home at about 15 years old and started traveling around the world. And so I didn't have his name anymore, and I was like tree and ocean, and I had these names, but I never actually said this is my name. They were too big for me. And so I was living with this Indian tribe in the high Andes, this beautiful, beautiful tribe in the sacred Urubamba Valley, where further down below is Machu Picchu, which is a famous ruin. And I was living on this 80-year-old Peruvian Indian's land, and he had never been in a car. There was no road to the village I lived outside of. You had to walk there, around 2 miles from the nearest road. And one day he said, Eona. And I go, that's my name. And I go, what's it mean? What's it mean? He says, it doesn't mean anything. I'm tired of calling you Hey Gringo. So I've been Eona for around 35 years now.
Nice. I keep seeing you with these strange instruments that I don't feel like I've seen before. What are they?
They're inventions that I've made. I make them by hand, no power tools, and I'm into a lot of hybrids. Like this instrument here is part sitar and part guitar. And I've been making them for many years. I started making instruments with flutes, and then I went on to drums, and then I went into hybrid beerdenbows, which is a form of African Brazilian instrument that they play with capoeira. And I started going into more strings, and then now I'm making sitar, sitaritas, harps, hammer dulcimers, bowed psalteries, bouzouki.
So you've been traveling around the world since you were 15. Like, how do you make money, or how do you make a living?
In different countries it was different things. In the southern hemisphere, like in South America and Central America, they would stop anything for music. I was traveling there in the 70s. Right now I'm on Maui, and I've been on Maui for 32 years. But for years I traveled around and I performed music. I would get to the middle of the village, the little Indian village, or even a big city, and there's markets, there's these mercados. And I'd go there and I'd take off my backpack, and just because I was a gringo sometimes, a white man in a place where there were mostly Indians, people would be looking at me. And then I'd take out an instrument, I'd start playing, and suddenly like there's 50, 80 people. And then I have this little puppet that I would bring out of my backpack, and I would dance him around, and then I have like 200, 300 people. And then I have my panpipes, these different flutes, and I'd start going crazy and dancing around. I have 400 people. And I would have the most wonderful time. And I would get these different groups of people to make sounds, and we would do sounds together. Like this group over here, 100 people, I go, and then the middle people go, and then, and so I'd make these weird sounds. They're just weird sounds, but it would be off, it'd be off, it'd be off, and then everyone was doing it, and they were into it, and they weren't embarrassed. And then it would lock in. It would lock in. And we would keep doing that one song, everyone wiggling and making this song for a half hour, and people were crying, and I would end it, and then people would go around and collect hats full of little money that they had, and they'd put it in front of me, and I would be crying, and that money was enough to live another month of having like an hour of the most beautiful time of my life. So that was in several countries. That here on Maui, you have to perform more in like bars and cabaret, and I'm not into that, so I do it more with visual arts, and I paint and I carve and I make instruments. But I paint, many years I painted in watercolor and acrylics, so that's how I earn a living.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Eona.
Thank you for being.
Aloha.
Aloha.